Welcome back to the Oshner Health Podcast Studio for another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. We're coming to you from our place on Veterans Memorial Boulevard, right next door to Matt Bauer's state-of-the-art Ford dealership. Make sure you go in there and check him out. They got just everything you need there. If you got to get your car taken care of, there's a huge garage. Check out Matt at one of his many locations throughout the greater New Orleans metro region. All different types of cars, and they'll get you right with the best customer service and the best prices. But definitely check out this one up here on Vets next door to us, the Ford dealership. We got a show for you guys today. We're going to keep breaking down the Saints, talk about the state of the Saints, what they need to do going into this weekend's game against the Los Angeles Chargers. Team that likes to run the ball a lot. The Saints aren't very good at running or stopping the run, so we're going to see how that one goes. We're going to talk about the Marquez Valdes-Scantling visit and where the Saints might go at that receiver position with some guys down. What should the approach be for the rest of the season? We're going to talk about all this stuff and so much more after this quick break and word from our sponsors. Oshner Health is proud to team up with the NFL and the New Orleans Saints' Crucial Catch mission to fight cancer and save lives. Crucial Catch helps more people access the tools they need to catch cancer early and promotes prevention and early detection of cancer.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. All right, let's get into the show. And we're here at the Oshner Health Podcast Studio. I'm Nick Underhill. He's Mike Triplett. You're watching NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. Get every day started with PJ's, and they'll get you right. The Saints are not necessarily right now. They're banged up. playing the Chargers this weekend. Maybe some help on the way. Got some guys
maybe
coming back.
brighter than they've been in a month.
Yeah, some guys coming back from injury. We're kind of expecting to see Taysom, maybe Cesar Ruiz. Derek Carr's probably still a week away per DA, but I don't know. Maybe they're lying about
Werner,
that.
maybe.
Yeah. Maybe Pete Werner coming back from that hamstring injury. So some reserves on the way, a little bit more, health is something that they definitely need. But they're kind of in a perilous situation, in my opinion. I think they need to win one of these next two games to kind of keep everything going. Am I overstating things? Is that fact or is it fiction? Do you feel like they have to win one of the next two games?
Yes, but look, it's on the screen, the title of this, and I thought about suggesting a title change, but then I just wanted to be like, to keep things rolling, to keep what, the car from being parked in the front yard with no wheels on it at all, and just permanently. It's obviously not rolling now to restart things. I don't know. But the phrasing it as one of the next two is they're two very different games. Saints at Chargers, that's a tough opponent for me. We're going to talk about that more specifically. It's a good running team. The Saints don't stop the run very well. Saints at Panthers, that's the apocalypse. Like, if you're going to lose 7 games in a row with the 7th one coming to the Carolina Panthers, what did they just lose yesterday? Like 40-7? We're not even talking about getting things rolling, resuscitating things. That's the total disaster scenario, is losing 7 straight with the 7th coming at the Panthers. So they absolutely have to win that game to keep, us just from saying everyone should be fired and that kind of talk. Win both is the question. What do they need to win both to have a real season? Would they have a real season if they win both? Is that even possible? I mean, they're going to get healthy. They're going to got a lot of guys back. The funny thing is, as bad as these last couple of games have been, if they had the health that they might have this week, they probably would be like a team with a winning record right now. Maybe they go and beat the Chargers, and then we're having a different conversation next week. But I think the only way to have any conversation about the 2024 season mattering at all is winning both of them.
If they win both of them, Tampa loses tonight to Baltimore, it is potentially a real season at that point. But I'm not even talking about that. Like, I think that's beyond kind of like, let's see if they get there, like, first before we start talking about that. I think they got to win one of these next two to kind of not have everyone get fired. I don't think you can lose. What is it? What would it be then? Seven games.
You can't lose 7 in a row with one of them coming to Carolina.
You can't lose 7 in a row and then have Atlanta come into town. Like, you just can't have that happen. You can't lose 7 games in a row. So you
have to win one of these two.
There's like a broader, like, is there hope on the other side of this thing? Yeah, but like let's get there first before we start talking about that. But I agree. They win both of them. Tampa loses tonight. Like, there's a chance. There's a chance, but I think right now the immediate danger is how do you get on the other side of it? And it's hot right now. B just put a picture up on the screen. There we go. We got the lower cover and it took it off. Like, that's the front page of ESPN right now. The top story: NFL Week 7 big questions and takeaways is Saints coach Dennis Allen's job in jeopardy after Broncos loss. And then underneath it, let's overreact to Week 7. Panic time for Saints. Dennis Allen on the hot seat. You're getting You're getting double dosed on the front page of that. And the bottom story by Dan Graziano, national reporter for them, he says it's not overstating things. That it's a where it's at right now, especially because Jacksonville just won and it kind of took the pressure off their situation. So right now, like, DA's a guy outside of here that people are looking at. It's the internal feeling about it is the thing that ultimately matters. But practically speaking, I don't know if you can lose 7 in a row. And the thing that usually...
Well, let's shift the question real quick, because I think we both agree losing 7 in a row, losing to Carolina would be a disaster. What about 6 in a row and losing to the Chargers? What about this game in and of itself? How much is at stake in this one game?
As far as like job security, I don't...
That kind of stuff.
I don't think a lot, because if Derek Carr's not starting, they're going to give him a pass on it. Yeah. They just are. I think that's how they're going to look at it. And maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right way or the wrong way, but if you lose to Carolina with Derek at quarterback, I don't.
That's the one. Like, you can't lose both of them.
There's usually something that happens that causes like one of these firings, and it has to be like some type of embarrassment. It has to be some type of type of shame. The team has to quit. Like there has to be something that's a catalyst behind it. I think teams quitting isn't really a real thing. I think you just keep losing and it kind of happens. Like Jacksonville a week ago, there was a guy, I don't know, I can't remember who it was, but he did an interview saying, I don't think everyone gave their best effort. I think people were kind of quitting out there. And then they come out and they smoke the Patriots. Like if they're on the field and things start feeling good, people are going to check back in. Like that's just kind of what happens. I don't think that it's a thing in the sense of like how we talk about it. Like there's this like decision, like, nope, we're not going to do it. No, they're out there and it's just horrible and they just can't find a way to like bring the effort.
Human nature.
Yeah.
I mean, that's human nature without question. Yeah.
You cannot lose. You can't lose 7 in a row. They do have to win one of these next two. And this segment was presented by Shea Bear Insurance, the Earhart Agency. Check them out for all of your insurance needs. Definitely a critical moment for them. Shifting gears to the Urban South segment, the Saints are allowing 146.7 rushing yards per game. The Chargers love to run the ball. They don't want to throw a whole lot. Kind of interesting that somebody looked at Justin and said, hey, you know what? Like throwing less with him might be better. Like he's kind of been like the golden child of like NFL analytics for a long time. And it's never quite worked out the way it should. And I feel like they've kind of figured out like a good way to do it. Is this a winnable matchup for the Saints?
Yeah, well, we get to watch the Chargers tonight on Monday Night Football, and they're on the road on Monday Night Football. I pointed out how much I thought this stung for the Saints when they had to go at Kansas City and then have a short week before playing Tampa Bay in a big game. Now the Chargers are going to be the team doing that. Because Justin Herbert looked a little bit more like himself in the last game, I thought. Did they have a good win over Denver, right?
Yep.
And so that was one of the best they looked. Herbert was battling some health issues. He had 237 yards in the touchdown pass. But yeah, no, I mean, this is Jim Harbaugh got back to the NFL and he called up Greg Roman, who was running the Kaepernick offense, who was running the Lamar Jackson Baltimore rushing offense. He likes to run, and that's going to be a core principle for them. They haven't dominated by doing that, though. I mean, even though they like to run and they're really good at it, and J.K. Dobbins was a revelation early in this season now that he's healthy, they're still only 12th in rushing yards per game. They're like 19th in rushing yards per play. And overall, their offense is bottom 8 in the NFL in points and yards. So they're not blowing the doors off anyone by doing that. But I still don't like the matchup for the Saints. The Saints aren't going to stop them from running the ball. No way.
The only reason I think their rushing yards aren't where they're supposed to be is because they had a game against Pittsburgh and they had a game against the Chargers. And they're two really good defense. And like their high rusher in those games was 44 yards, 32 yards. And we just kind of see where they're at. Yeah. But like against Vegas, Dobbins had 135. Against Carolina, he had 131. Against Denver, he had 96. Yeah. So I think they might do it
against the Saints.
Yeah, and you're playing a bad run defense. Like I think it could open up a little bit for them.
And the Saints won't have a big enough lead to stop them from running the ball. Like that's the best way to stop a team from running is to take a lead. The Saints won't.
Yeah, not playing the way they're playing right now. I mean, they have two losses, both to good teams, Pittsburgh and the Chiefs. They beat Vegas, they beat Carolina, they beat Denver. So they're beating the teams they're supposed to beat. They've looked pretty good in those games. Herbert, like it's crazy kind of going down the list. 144 yards passing against Vegas, 130 against Carolina, 125 against Pittsburgh, 179 against Kansas City, 237 against Denver. Like they haven't let a game get out of hand either. They lost to Pittsburgh by 10. They lost to Kansas City by 7. I mean, I think it's going to be a tough game. I think it's kind of the opposite of how the Saints probably would want to play a team. They are beatable for sure. I don't think that they're this like juggernaut team at all, but they're playing decent defense. They run the ball pretty well. They want to run the ball. They're a team that I think, you sit there and you say, like, why don't they just keep running if they can't tackle them? And then, I think they're actually a team that'll do that.
Yes.
So this one could become demoralizing if they don't score points and they don't stop the run.
I mean, the Saints just gave up 277 and 230, I think. Over 500 rushing yards in back-to-back games, and now they're playing a team that probably runs the ball better than either of those two teams. Demoralizing is. I mean, you almost set the over/under at 200 rushing yards.
I was doing a live stream this weekend, and someone asked a question. My guy Wes, he said, "Is 300 yards like crazy?" And it didn't strike me as crazy. It was like
it's kind of the perfect storm for that.
They might. Like, they're the type of team that could. And look, we're probably being way too negative right now about everything, but, like, that's just where it exists. Like, it feels like this feels like one where it could be and you don't want to get in a game like that where you're getting smoked and they're just running on you at will like that. Those are the kind of games that could break spirits, and you can't let that happen. So you need to score points. You got to find a way to stop their run. Maybe Pete Werner helps with it.
Yeah.
He's somebody that I think they're missing severely. I think their linebacker play has been really bad, and hasn't been really bad. He's been good. I think they're missing him really badly. So maybe he helps if he gets back on the field this week.
The other thing, I don't know how much of it, but the Saints played a Monday night game, a Sunday game, a Thursday game. So that was 3 games in 11 days. And the very first one against Kansas City, the defense was on the field for 40 minutes. Then against Tampa Bay, they were on the field a lot. Denver, they were on the field a lot. So this 10-day break was much, much needed for that defense. They'll get a little healthier. They'll also be a little rested. Hopefully they show more fight and more life than they did in those last couple games.
Yeah, and they're an old team too. So, you start racking up the mileage a little bit. Like it can be something that hurts. Having a little bit of a longer break can help. I mean, health-wise too, especially who are some of the guys? Let me pull up the injury report from last week just to make sure we aren't overlooking anyone.
I don't know if you mentioned Olave earlier. That's obviously not a defensive
he'll be back.
question, but Olave should be back from a concussion, so that's another big one that will be back. But Werner's the main one that could help the defense. You're not getting Will Harris back at safety. Tyron already didn't miss a game. Marshawn left early, but they said that they expect that to be minor. Obviously, Paulson Adebo won't be back.
I got to see Marshawn on the field before I assume anything. I've heard minor before, and it took a long time.
Yeah, fair.
Cesar Ruiz, I think possibly could be back. Lucas Patrick was active but didn't play, so that seems like he's nearing the ability to be able to play. Getting both those guys back on the line and being just down McCoy, that's huge. Like that's something that could be hugely beneficial to them. They just got to find a way to like stop having new injuries, which is something that they just have not been able to figure out.
Sure.
Colin Saunders went down Friday with that back injury. This felt like one of the better, as far as like just like straight up outs. It felt like one of the better injury reports. I don't know. Like you just kind of know where guys are coming back. It feels possibly like they're turning a corner. It's still incredibly extensive. They've listed to this point in the season the 3rd most injuries in the NFL, which is kind of crazy. As far as game statuses, out, doubtful, questionable, 3rd highest in the league, which is crazy. It's insane. Way more than last year. Just not looking good on that front. So yeah, they need to find a way to get healthier and get better. And then the juxtaposition to the Broncos one is crazy. Like they hardly have anybody hurt. Just looking at it right now, the Saints they got to find a way. They got to find Bo Lowry. There you go. Missing him a little bit. He was a good doctor, good team doctor for sure. All right, so we'll see how that one goes. It's kind of funny that like Justin Herbert, it like doesn't feel like the
main
focal
talking point.
Yeah, he's like secondary to it,
but what a killer that is if you're just like trying to stop the run, and if you ever like do stuff it on 1st and 2nd, it's 3rd and 7. Oh, they've got Justin Herbert throwing on 3rd and 7, so you haven't really Not like Bo Nix throwing on 3rd and 7 and forcing him to throw. If you force Justin Herbert to throw, what have you really accomplished?
It's kind of the direction of the league, too. Like, big passing numbers are kind of done.
It
seems like it's over. Like, they figured out how to play defense, how to stop it. It's kind of going back to smash mouth a little bit. Like, I watched that whole Houston game yesterday, and I thought within the context of how it was being played, like, Stroud was doing an okay job. And then you look at the end of the game, and he was like 10 for 21 for 86 yards. And it was just kind of crazy. He had a huge pass at the end of that game. And, I doubted Jordan Love a little bit when he got the contract. Like I wasn't sold. I'm sold. Like
sold.
He is.
Big word. Yeah.
He's really good. He's really, really good.
That division is insane.
And another team, I was like, for 2 years now, the Lions. Like, no, the Lions are legitimate as hell. Like Goff might end up winning the MVP. Like if they keep winning games and he keeps doing what he's doing. What a turnaround for him. All right, moving on to the Rouse's topic. The Saints are bringing in or brought in already Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He came in, I believe, yesterday for visit, working out today. Is he a good fit for the team? And should they even be trying to add guys?
Yeah, this is perfect, I think. Now, look, I'm not going to oversell Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He chose the Bills in free agency, and it was a couple months into free agency. He had been past, he was like 5th wave of free agency. And I think he had 2 catches at the beginning of the season for a team that needed receivers to emerge. So where he's at in his career right now, you can't expect too much. But I think the price will reflect that. I assume he will be veteran minimum at this point. I don't think you have to pay him a signing bonus or anything like that. He's probably going to be happy to find a home after the Bills just released him when they traded for Amari Cooper. But he's a professional. He's a big-bodied receiver, which we've talked about.
6'4", I think, yeah.
6'4", 206. He's not He doesn't play like Michael Thomas, though. He's actually more of a downfield threat and has been in his career. But he is a big-bodied receiver, and he's just a professional receiver. I mean, he just caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl for the Chiefs last year against the 49ers. He's been a huge playoff guy. He's caught 40 passes, I think, last year and 60 passes the year before. Or am I looking at targets? I'm trying to remember. I had that open a second ago. But, started for years for the Packers, the Chiefs, and now the Bills. He's been on high-functioning offenses. I was looking at targets. 42 receptions 2 years ago, 21 last year. But, I mean, we're just talking about getting someone in there that's going to catch a few more passes than Bub Means and Mason Tipton. I would love to see a veteran enter the mix.
He feels like the plus version of like a Callaway, kind of maybe.
But I just think Callaway was always one of the young, unproven guys. Like I bet this guy runs professional routes.
Like
you know
there's
what I mean?
there's like the freemium product and the premium product. Like he feels like the paid version of Callaway, kind of a little bit. Like I don't know. I don't want to oversell him. Like he's a guy that at best is going to get you like 600 yards in a season, maybe. Like he's fine. He can catch some passes. He does drop some balls though too.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, all the things I just said about him, I kind of was saying about Cedric Wilson before, and we've seen that has amounted to absolutely nothing. But that's just the dire straits that they're in right now. Like, give me an actual pro caliber number 3 receiver to add to this mix right now. Although getting Olave back it was a lot worse without Olave than it is right now.
I would have like Valdes-Scantling in the mix if you still had Shaheed. Like it would have felt like, okay, like now there's somebody to compete with Cedric Wilson. I don't like the construction of it to where he's like immediately an important player. Yeah. Like I don't want him to be an important player on my team. I want him to be like the 3rd or 4th guy. Same with Cedric Wilson. That's why A.T. Perry not working out was like such a devastating thing. And I think they put too much weight on that. Like it was just too much. Like they were betting on him being the 3rd guy. Like Cedric Wilson was never supposed to be the 3rd guy, and then he ended up being it. A.T. kind of dropped the ball there, and that's how it played out. On the back half of this, we're going to kind of get into like the should they part of it, because like I think they're kind of in an interesting position right now with kind of where their record's at. But if you are a team that's trying to win games and like nobody runs their team like the producers and like trying to fail, like you do kind of have to go out and add somebody.
Let me ask you a question from your film studies, and it's probably impossible to tell, but do you think Mason Tipton and Bub Means and maybe even Cedric Wilson and Equanimeous St. Brown to an extent, but do you think the route running's probably been okay? Do you think anything has been missed because quarterbacks are throwing to spots and the receivers didn't go where the quarterback thought they were trying to go?
I mean, Cedric doesn't get a ton of targets, so St. Brown, same thing. I thought Bub ran good routes the first week and like did things to get open. The person that I thought had and no one wants to hear it. Like, and they're going to tell me I'm wrong and all that, and it's cool. Like, I get it. But I think the lack of detail on Shaheed's routes is really something that kind of stands out sometimes. And like what I'm talking about is like, if you're running like a deep crosser, like a lot of people will put like a ladder on it, like kind of just to like, okay, I'm going to like shift a little to just create a little separation so that, there's room for the quarterback to throw the ball. Like that, when people say detailing routes, that's what they're talking about. And like, he'll just kind of, run it. And he's either out running them or he's not. And sometimes it's like, man, if you would just put like a little ladder on that or a little something on it, just a little wiggle, just to kind of, give something, like it would be a much easier throw for the quarterback to make. And there was one with Rattler in the first game where it was just like, man, like if you just done that, like it's wide open, and instead it wasn't. So stuff like that, it stands out more with him. Like I'm not saying that Bub Means is a better route runner than Shaheed. Like there's more exposure to Shaheed. There's more stuff to criticize, to look at, to watch or whatever. But I think like the evolution of Shaheed, and I think that's almost encouraging, because that means whenever he gets healthy and he gets back, there's like room for another level. Like you watch Olave does all that stuff. Like that's kind of one of the things that made him like, you looked at him, you're like, man, he's really polished as a route runner. That's the stuff people are talking about. So I think like Shaheed, like, and they got a better receivers coach this year. I don't know that he ever really got that type of coaching. Like I think if he had stayed healthy over time, like that's stuff you're able to get into. But I don't think that there's been like exceptional route running outside of Chris Olave. I don't.
Well, I know Carr mentioned a couple where he wasn't necessarily doing the same thing he did last year, pointing and yelling or whatever. But when he was explaining why he didn't hit Tipton on a couple plays, it was like, I expected this and he expected this. That's just, we haven't had time on task together. Like that stuff happens. Not that Valdes-Scantling would join a new team, and all of a sudden him and the quarterback would know exactly how they want to run every choice route. But that is definitely something that's affected this team. No
Well, he
doubt.
survived 4 years with like the biggest asshole quarterback in the league, so he must be doing something right.
Yeah.
However, the fact that he wasn't brought to the Jets, maybe that's not a great sign because they're collecting
everyone
they're
else
collecting
back.
everybody. That's going to do it for the first block of the show. We'll be right back after this quick word from our sponsors. Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
It's good! The Saints score! Saints score!
Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
Hey everyone, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. Every man knows the unbeatable feeling of a fresh barbershop shave. Now, what if I told you that you no longer have to wait weeks or even months between appointments to experience it? Introducing Manscaped's newest innovation, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver, the game-changing tool that brings the luxury of a professional shave right into your home. Whether you're after that silky smooth finish or prefer to maintain a rugged 5 o'clock shadow, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver is your go-to for precision and style every single time. Head over to manscaped.com and join the 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using the code New Orleans, that's one word, New Orleans, for 20% off and free shipping.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Here at the Queen Casino, indulgence knows no bounds. Prepare your taste buds for an extraordinary culinary journey. Start your day at Capital Coffee. Craving something different? Three Walks Noodle Bar offers a tantalizing selection of Asian delights. At 1717 Kitchen and Cocktails, savor American cuisine with a twist. Or ascend to the loft for an elevated experience. Enjoy artesian grazing boards and exquisite craft cocktails. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome back to the Oshner Health Podcast Studio here on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. Next door to my guy, Matt Bauer, state-of-the-art Ford dealership. Make sure you go check them out if you're in the market for a new car. And, of course, as always, we're presented by PJ's Coffee. Get every day started with them, or hit them up around 3 o'clock if you need that boost to get through the rest of the day. The Saints, we just mentioned, we had talked about the benefits of bringing in Valdes-Scantling. We'll see if they sign him. But it is kind of interesting, and this segment is presented by Aaron Rose. Kind of interesting. The Saints currently they're sitting on the 6th pick in the draft because the Jets couldn't win that game last night. It would have been the 5th if the Jets had won. And they got like all these guys that are injured. I don't think anybody ever like actually says, hey, let's deliberately try to lose games, but you can do things that can help you lose games. Like maybe take your time bringing a guy back from injury, maybe trade some people away.
Stick with Spencer Rattler at quarterback.
Not signing another wide receiver to come in to kind of try to help out. Should they be leaning into this at all? Is it too early to do that, or should there be pragmatic? Should they be pragmatic about the situation at all?
I think it goes back to the first question of the show a little bit. If they lose to the Chargers and the Panthers, then I think the answer becomes yes. I think the season is over at 2-7, and every decision you make becomes about 2025. If you win these next two and all of a sudden you're 4-5 and you have this super easy schedule and you're getting healthier, you're back in play for the NFC South. The tough question for me is, what if you do as expected? What if you lose to the Chargers and beat the Panthers, and that would make you a 3-6 team?
They're still going for it at that point, I think.
I think they're still going for it too, but that's the most likely scenario, and that's the hardest one to answer because there's no obvious answer. At 3-6, I don't think they have a prayer of making the playoffs. But if you're Dennis Allen and you want to save your job and you want to prove that it was just the injuries holding you back, you try to do what you did each of the last 2 years. You turn 3-6 into a 7-10 finish or an 8-9 finish, and you win 5 of the last 7 games. Then you're like, see, this is a good team. We are doing things the right way. It was just the injuries that held us back. So they're going to want to do that. And we seem to think that management believes in that and believes in the coaching. So they're not going to tell them, no, you're not allowed to do that. So.
Yeah, that's where things get really kind of difficult if you end up in that spot. Because it's easy to say on the outside, tank it, blow it up, don't do it, don't try to win, try to get the draft picks or whatever. The thing that's frustrating, and I think I said this on like a show or two ago, like I wish they could just come out and be like, hey, we're like going to try to get a better draft pick, and we're running it back, and we're going to keep DA, and we're going to do all this stuff. And if you tell me you're going to do that, like I could live with it maybe, I think. Because like the thing that sucks, and I think the thing that gets fans upset and everything, and again, it's a completely different conversation when you're sitting out here versus when you're actually in that room trying to win the games. You're on the field, you're the coach, you're the GM. Like it's a whole different reality when you're actually in it. But like from the outside looking in, for me, even at this point, it's like, okay, cool. If you can do all that, great. You can save your job, fine. You change the optics or whatever. That I understand it. I understand you need to do it. And if that's what it is, that's what it is. But like that doesn't help your team. So I wish they could just say like, hey, we're sticking with DA. We don't give a damn what anybody says. Like he's our coach. And then just, you don't have to say the second part, but then like just not try to win some games to get the better draft pick. Because boy, like winning 7 games, 8 games and picking 10th, 11th, 12th.
That doesn't help DA. That doesn't help the next coach.
It doesn't
help anybody.
It doesn't. And like, yeah, if you're just going to end up there because you do, but like you have an opportunity right now where you could hide behind all of it and nobody could see any of it really. Oh man, like nope, Taysom's like, it's just taking longer, it's taking longer than we thought. Oh man, Cesar Ruiz, he, the rehab, like you can do all this stuff. You know what? We're going to give Derek 2 more weeks. Like we sent him out for a specialist. Like he felt something when he was throwing. Hey Derek, like I know you want to play. Go along with this. We'll get you another tackle. Like you could just do it a different way.
Look, if we're talking about
we'll get you the Arizona receiver. Like
if we're talking about selling it to the players, though, it's too early. I think.
Yeah,
I don't think DeMario Davis and Cam Jordan and Tyrann Mathieu and Derek Carr are ready on October 21st to be like, yeah, we'll check out for the rest of this season, because they'll also be like, and how many of us are going to be back for this?
Yeah, you aren't
rebuilding thing you're doing next year. Yeah. Alvin Kamara. So look, if it
that's
hits,
what I'm saying.
If it hits 2-7, then you could be like, well, look, you guys have no say in this. But if you do that right now, then you really, the whole point of losing a locker room, if you're quitting on them, then they're quitting.
That's what
on
I'm
you.
saying. It's so easy to sit here and say, and like practically, it's tough. It's tough to do. I think you could probably get Derek to buy into that a little bit. Like, hey man, like you have nothing to worry. Like you've seen these games. No one's taking your job. No one's taking your job. You're gonna have your job next year, and we're gonna get you the wide receiver from Arizona. Like if you do that, like he's probably like, all right, like I'll take an extra week.
I don't know about that. When they get healthy, if Rattler all of a sudden puts together like a 300 yards, 3 touchdown game, all of a sudden things change.
Fair.
If I'm Derek, I guarantee you Derek Carr wants to be back on the field as soon as possible and just close that door and make sure it doesn't open again. But yeah, it always makes sense. But you know, it's hard to sell to the coaches and the players and the assistant coaches and everybody, especially in the NFL. I mean, it's the same reason why they can never win a labor union. Like you always have like this year, and that's the only year that's guaranteed.
I think you could do it though without even having to tell anybody. Like a little bit. You could draw everything out a little bit longer. No, Caesar, like, man, they said you're just not quite there yet. You know, like I am. My doctor said, no, like we got to make this decision. You can make a couple of those and kind of hide it a little bit. You could trade a couple people. You don't bring back MVS. Like you could try a little bit, but it's so easy to say. Like in reality, you can't really do that and like keep your building together because it does begin to fray.
But the answer is yes, from a fan standpoint, from an analyst standpoint, from a common sense standpoint, from a AI generated computer standpoint. The 5th pick in the draft would be way better for this team than rallying back to finish
the
7-10 or 8-9. No question.
If they believe in their building, this is a 10-win team. And I think that's what they actually believe. And I think that's what Mickey was saying. You got to look beyond the results. I don't like seeing the lack. I think you have to have depth to be a 10-win team. And we've seen how they don't have depth. And that was kind of the, maybe the error looking into it into the season. You're only judging the top end, not so much like I should have probably predicted more towards what the bottom could be than the top. So I should have probably dropped it a game or two just based on like the natural attrition that happens during a season. But if they believe in that building, it's a 9-10 win team. Giving a 9-10 win team the 5th pick in the draft is much better than giving them the 12th pick in the draft. Right. It just is. Like, but that's not how anyone ever actually operates because it's easy to say it. It's hard to do it in reality. But from the outside looking in, it's like, damn, like what's the point of winning 7 games again? Like, just if you want to make that decision, make it, and then try to be a little bit worse than you're going to end up being and get a better pick. It doesn't even have to be top 5. If you lost like an extra game, like every game you lose helps with your draft status. And you know, if
they bring in Lovie Smith to as the interim coach, then we're going to know they're going to try to.
See, the thing is, I don't actually believe that. Like, I don't think they want to fire DA. So like, just end the charade. Like, just end it. Like, just say, hey, you know what? Like, DA, just don't win as many games. Like, you're good. Yeah. Like, find a way to just slow things down a little bit naturally and have it look okay. That's not how anybody actually does anything.
I was just bringing up Lovie Smith because he's the most famous orchestrator of purposely tanking to lose, and everyone knew it, and refusing to tank to lose, and everyone knew it. Well, and both times he got fired. So
that's the thing too. People are like, "Well, fire the coach, put the interim in, they'll lose more games." Like, no, the interim guy is going to try to win. He's going to try to. He's trying to get at the head coaching job. He wants to be Antonio Pierce. Like, so it isn't like that. Doesn't help you lose games. I don't think. I think they go harder and. God forbid the players love the guy they got up there, you know, then they're going to go even harder to try to get it for him. So, yeah, I don't.
The answer would be to start Rattler over Carr if you went totally down that road. That would be the main thing to do and say, hey, we just have to evaluate, you know.
But I don't think they want to do that. I think they want to bring. I think they want to bring Derek back. I think they want to bring DA back. I think that's what they want to have happen.
If things really get out of control, if they're at 3-8 at some point. I think that's a decision you have to make.
If you do that, though, you're done with Carr. I don't think you can
bring him back.
Yeah, I don't think you can shift it back at that point. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if they want, I think, not me. I'm not saying this is what I want to do. I'm not saying this is what they should do. I'm just saying I think that they want Derek to be the quarterback, and they want one of the young guys to take the job. But I don't think we see that happening. So I think they want to be able to bring Derek back. I think they hope DA does enough to save his job so they can keep it going. I think they believe in what they're doing. So, like, you know, if you go away from them, it doesn't. But, anyways, something interesting to talk about, but I don't think it's a realistic thing. That brings us to the Martin's question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of bourbon select beers and so much more. Martin, so much more than just wine. How you fix run defense by Sunday?
By Sunday? I thought you meant by 2026.
By Sunday.
It's been bad for so many years. I mean, I know you've liked some of the things you've seen from Nathan Shepard on tape over the last couple of years. He's a functional, solid player. You liked a little of what you saw from Christian Boyd this summer. He's been okay. They kind of takes turns with Colin Saunders and John Ridgway. Brian Brzee, his strength is still not run defense. They've had the injuries at linebacker. Cam Jordan used to be a huge asset as a run defender at defensive end, but now that he's been replaced playing time-wise with Chase Young and Carl Granderson, I don't think that's their strength. I just don't think they have the personnel at I mean, I guess a healthy Werner and a rested Davis maybe help a little bit, but I think it's something that needs to be revamped personnel-wise, and you can't do that in season. Am I wrong?
No, they don't have the players right now. Like, they need Pete Werner on the field, and they need to score points to play with the lead so teams can't run. That's the only way they're going to hide their run defense, but it's not good enough. They're not strong enough up the middle. Yeah, I mean, I like stuff I saw from Christian Boyd, but I didn't like him as like a starter. I liked him as like a potential
as a
guy.
Malcolm Roach.
Yeah, he has good potential, I think. I think there's room to develop. Shep's solid at times. He's had some good games this season, but it's not enough. You need another person there. You mentioned the ends. Cam's not around really, in that mix anymore.
Why were they technique? I mean, DA, this has been a calling card for DA. When he had his best years as a defensive coordinator from 17 through 20, they had the best run defense in the NFL over that stretch. Is it a system that works, but you need to have the players, or has the game changed and the system doesn't work anymore? Like,
I pointed this out a million times, and everybody was like heralding the sub 100-yard rusher thing, and it's like, well, you look at the yards per carry; they weren't always great. Like, the reason they were good at run defense, number one in the league, is because they had the best team in the league during that span. They were winning every game. You can't run on them. Like, that hides some of it. They were much better at it. Granted, like, they weren't getting gashed. They weren't giving up 50-yard runs or whatever. But they were. I think the teams that are at the top of that list are typically. Oh, they're allowing the least rushing yards in the league. Like, who was the other one? Carolina last year had like the best pass defense in the league. Well, yeah, because nobody had to throw the ball on them. So, like, I think within the situation of it, like, that helped a little bit. But they were a really good run defense. But they had better players. Like, DeMario was like as good as any linebacker that's ever played in the NFL during that span. Cam was at his peak. You had like good big guys in the middle that were able to kind of blend in there a little bit. Like, they were just better players overall. And now they're older, kind of some of the same guys. Like, they aren't quite as effective, and your team just isn't as good. So I think it's like a little bit of everything. So, like, if that defense was playing in these circumstances, they're probably like league average run defense, probably not one. But like, when no one can run the ball on you, like, that kind of helps quite a bit. So it's just kind of a combination of. Of a lot of things, I think.
I think DeMario was elite at that time, and I think Cam was too. I mean, he's probably as good of a run-stopping defensive end as you can have in the league. Funny, I was looking up this year's standings, and you're exactly right about the winning teams having the fewest rushing yards per game allowed. Baltimore, number 1. Minnesota, number 2. They were undefeated till yesterday. Pittsburgh, a 5-win team, 3. Kansas City, undefeated, 4. Detroit, 5. Number 6, the Los Angeles Chargers. Oh, good. So, something else the Saints have to go up against.
The Chargers are like kind of like weirdly a decent team.
Yeah,
they are. They aren't putting up great numbers, but they're winning games, and they're winning close games, which usually is a hallmark of a good team. That's going to do it for the regular portion of this episode. If you aren't signed up for NewOrleans.Football, your feed ends right now. For the members, it keeps rolling into overtime.